Hello and welcome to another episode of the Zee and Zed Show. My name is Zee.
And I am Zed.
And today we're going to be taking a look at different ways that you should maintain your 3D printer.
Yeah.
Stuff that you probably
Maintenance
already
is
do.
very important.
Some stuff you might forget or don't even know about. So before we talk about that, let's go into some of the makes we've done this week. I'm going to show off
Oh my goodness.
these because they're a lot of fun. So these are face mode prints. If you've never printed anything in face mode, it's pretty much just a one wall print that goes around in a circle continuously up without any types of seams. So it's a completely seamless print with a solid bottom layer. So these are useful for storage. I store tools in ones like this right here. So these out also print very quick for the size of print they are. These are Polyterra PLA from Polymaker, some of their co-extrusion filaments. I think it looks pretty cool. What do you think of this one? How it's a little less natural, a little more kind of
It's interesting.
liney. Yeah, it's interesting. Where this one's a little more perfect. Neat, huh?
I'm really enjoying the Polyterra duals. They're really fun.
Also printed off an owl on the bamboo.
I'm trying to see.
Focus
I've been
there.
putting things away for Murph, and so I don't have everything right in front of me to show off. But I have been doing
IK3D owl.
I have been doing lots and lots of trucks again to take with me. So these are the K2 Lil Big rigs. So this is a fun one. And of course, the fun part of this is that you actually get to pick the filament colors and slide them in as the pinstripes. And the other thing that I just took off the printer, and I have one on the printer, is Built Over Bot's Floral Dragon Flexi. And I did this in the rainbow Polyterra, the pastel rainbow Polyterra. So it's got a little bit of a purpley pink belly, and it's blue. So the next one I think will be blue going into green, which will be fun. So
Nice.
It's really cute, like a little articulated reptile.
I think the whole flexi craze is, I'm not going to say slowing down, but at least in
It ebbs
the
and
maker
flows.
community. Yeah, in the maker community, I see less of them. But every time I show a flexi to someone in the actual world, man, are they like, what is this? This is awesome.
How did you
Especially
do it?
dragons.
How did you connect it? Did you glue it together? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
always fun to
It's interesting.
explain that. Yeah, for Father's Day, I had a call with my dad, and I mean we talked, but I was able to show him I showed him this is a Daddy Wazi. I said this is all printed all at once, and I was explaining vase mode to him. Oh, I have one other make for this week.
Wow. You did it. You did it. Oh, you did it
So-
small.
Yeah, I had to print it fast. So, care to explain what this is?
This is my first model designed to be 3D printed. That was done in Tinkercad. When I first started printing, it was not the easiest to do in Tinkercad. It's not the best model. And I printed that for my mother for whatever day.
And
I
if
think
your
maybe
name is-
Mother's Day.
If your name is Herb, you can, or you can
Remix
just
it.
put it as a name tag for Murph.
I like it. This guy is still outside. It was printed in Polymaker ASA red and white, and it's still perfect condition.
This was your first ever model, right? And then
My
your
first ever model.
Your second one was the that thing.
The thing, which one? The Swatch truck.
Yeah, the Swatch truck.
Yeah, that was my first. So Swatch truck was my first on-shape model, or not on-shape model, but released on-shape model. I've done a lot of modeling, but I don't typically release them because they're more for personal use, especially since you can't do commercial licensing on free on-shape. But yeah, that's a fun one. That's awesome.
That was a fun one.
You put in a little herb garden to stick in the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I might just like stick it outside and see what happens. It is done in just regular PLA, so we'll see.
Yeah,
But that was fun.
Polyterra
Yeah.
is supposedly pretty good outside. I got Krusty's pet rock outside.
Yeah, so there is a whole collection now of Fix and Dude motors, so FDM. And I don't have the ice cream truck or the ambulance, but
This
you
one's
have a
gonna be
few of
blown
these.
out.
There's taxi,
Older taxi.
ambulance, there's a pickup truck, there is, and then of course, K2 has added his collection with his little big rig and a big rig. There's, yes. And there are also requests for other types of trucks, so we'll see what happens over time. Some people want yes, this is a remix. People want, people are asking for all sorts of things, but there are going to be a truckload. There is a convoy of Fix 'em Dude vehicles that are going to be at Murph. These are so easy to print. They're print in place with the wheels. If you have little kids or give prints to little kids, the wheels do not come detached.
So this was the original inspiration, the Hot Mix fire truck, and this is from Clock Spring. We talked about this previously, but this was essentially first remixed by Fix 'em Dude into a couple of other similar models that share the theme, and then it was completely developed from the ground up with a very similar style. So it's inspired by, but a newer style of it, and I really like it. I was not expecting that many models from Fix 'em Dude, and I'm very happy with them.
I was anticipating, expecting, and I'm excited for more.
I'm very excited for more.
No pressure at all. No pressure.
Yeah, I want a little race car too, like a fast car with a spoiler. Yeah, do one of those.
There is a race car.
Like a really long one.
Okay, you want a different one. Well,
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah.
But Fix 'em Dude is incredibly talented, and no pressure at all. and these, I believe that these are going to be submitted, if they haven't already been submitted, for consideration for Toys for Tots this year. So, yes. And tomorrow is Tuesday. Tomorrow is Tuesday. Taco Tuesday.
Oh yeah. I was just talking about Toys for Tots today, and hopefully we'll be able to start planning a little bit sooner, and hopefully get a good set of models submitted for them to review. I think that's gonna be very important this year, getting a good approved model list for the Toys for Tots program.
And it'd be nice to get more filament companies involved too.
Yeah. So we have some stuff on the behind the scenes, so keep an ear up for that. But for now, why don't we jump right into our main topic today, which is maintaining a 3D printer. So what is a 3D printer? What is it?
What is it? It's a machine.
It's a machine.
It's a machine.
It's a machine. It's a tool, and you should treat it as one, right? You don't just use your dishwasher and then you never maintain it. Every single appliance or machine you own has some form of maintenance. Some less than others, but 3D printers are, especially the ones you build, are not by any stretch of the imagination seamless or foolproof. So they're always going to require some form of maintenance, some of which you might not understand or realize, or the frequency of maintaining.
Yeah. So there's a few things. We've sort of broken it down into 5 things that we find are the most important, or the most frequent things that you need to keep track of. And the first thing, okay, you've got an example right there, is to clean your plate. So just like your mom might have said, clean your plate. So keeping your build plate clean is important because it affects your adhesion. If the print bed is dirty, oily, or even covered in adhesive residue, the filament may not stick properly.
Yeah, and don't touch it like this, because now you have a spot of oil, and it's usually invisible.
Yeah, and also if there's debris or particles on the build plate, that can cause the nozzle to stray. And of course, if you want to have a perfect bottom on your 3D print, this one isn't actually, funny enough. You want to make sure that you've got your plate nice and clean, and it helps to prevent warping and lifting and all those sorts of things. So before every print job, you should make sure that your plate is clean. So between print jobs, you just use, of course,
Isopropyl alcohol does not clean.
No.
It does not clean, but it kind of spreads out sort of oils and hopefully absorbs a little bit of it.
Yeah. So just enough, and you can use. I use these cotton pads. You use the blue shop towels. Some people use a lint-free cloth, like a microfiber towel, and that just like
use these. You get a stand that goes like right here, and I'm able to dispense them.
Yeah, exactly. But awesome. Especially if you're going to start a very important print, or if you're doing a whole series of prints, and also I would say a few times a week, if possible, depending on how heavy you are of a user. You want to take your plate to the sink and use hot soapy water. So you want to use something like Dawn Power Wash, something that is a grease fighting soap, dish soap. And when you handle your build plate, you want to handle it like a record. Now, if you're young like us-ish, Zombie keeps on saying record player, but it's just a record. You want to handle it like you would, or CD,
turntable.
CD. You don't want to touch it. So you hold on to the sides. What I do is I actually take paper towel that I dry it with, and I hold it with a paper towel. Then I take it over to the print bed.
By the area that you're not printing on, you have to hold it. Same when you remove your prints. Don't when you're peeling off prints and peeling off stuff, don't touch it with your fingers. If you have to, try to use your fingernails, whatever, but try not to touch this. If you touch your build plate with anything, that's why you have little sets
of tweezers, and that's why there's little plastic tools that you can use. Or even gloves. Yeah, if you want. The other thing is, if you are using something like IPA in between prints and stuff like that, or if you're using nano polymer or magic goo or whatever, make sure that it fully dries before powering your printer back on. Because you don't want to risk shorting out anything or causing any problems. So.
Read the instructions for any type of adhesive you use, such as nanopolymer, Maker's Mistress, etc., because they usually require the bed to be cold because they'll have some type of alcohol in them or something that evaporates. So you apply it, and then the whatever material that caused it to spread evenly will evaporate, and just leaving the adhesive.
Mm-hmm. And that of course that goes with any type of print bed. I see that we do have a question that we'll answer later. So lawn mowing, stick around, and also people in the chat might answer, because we're recording this for YouTube. Hello, YouTube.
Hello, YouTube.
So the other thing, of course, another thing, and it's something that every person that 3D prints is bad at, unless you have a Revo or something where you can change out your nozzles, is first of all, check your nozzle when you're printing. If you're finding that your print quality is poor, make sure that your nozzle's not worn out, but also make sure that both your hot and your nozzle are free of debris. We actually saw someone who was printing these beautiful pastel prints, and she kept on getting these black streaks in her prints because her whole hot end and nozzle still had debris from that filament. Depending on the type of filament that you use, whether it's the color, whether it's the composition of it, if it has glitter, or if it's if it's got different formulas in it, it may leave residue in your nozzle. So you want to preheat your hot end, and then turn your printer off, and use a wire brush around your hot end. And also, if you want to go in there with the acupuncture needle, or if you have, depending on what type of filament drive you have. I know with the Prusa you can use the sort of like the little stick and push down. Just make sure that you clean it out. Some people also use a cleaning filament at times. My version of a cleaning filament is I will put a light colored filament through, and I print to make sure that my next print is not going to have any debris. I use a light colored filament and I print my test disc. And that's a simple way for me to say, hey, it's time to, time to make sure that it's a good clean print. You'll see, you can't really see on this one, but yep, actually see, there's a little bit of leftover from another print. So then I knew,
material
okay. Yeah.
inside of the nozzle can stick around for a long time, especially if you print a lot of it, and you start to wear out the inside of your nozzle. It'll create surfaces to collect previous colors, and especially if your nozzle isn't tight enough, it can collect in that little groove. So just be careful with delicate prints and what color you're trying to put through it.
Yeah, and if you've ever had,
I've used cleaning film in the past. Seems to work very well, specifically when switching types of materials. So going from like a PLA to PETG or ABS back to PLA, where typically not. Let's say I just printed ABS at 260C, and then I go to print PLA. Well, that's only going to be up to 230C. It might not, it might have some ABS residue in there that's not fully. It's not going to be able to come out because I'm printing too cold.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a good way to use a nylon or a PC, usually polycarbonate. That's an easy way to do purging.
And there are some companies that provide you with cleaning filament, that they do provide it with their filament. They already know that it might cause a problem. So
it works well.
It does work well.
Yeah,
and like I said, I'll use like a light colored Polyterra, for example, and just push it through. And of course, brass nozzles are fairly inexpensive, so don't be afraid to change your nozzle. And a lot of the times, if you're having print quality issues, if you've already tested like your Z level, all those sorts of things, then it could be your nozzle. And every once in a while, well, actually once a week, take a look at those sorts of things, like whether there is something built up on the hot end, and that type of maintenance is important.
Even my Revos, like these very clearly show, they're not able to see it, but there's a lot of debris on here buildup. So if I'd have to clean it, I have to heat this up and then turn off the hot end and take off the sock too, because it'll just brush the sock off, and then take a wire brush and brush it. That's kind of the unfortunate thing about a lot of brass nozzles, because they're not coated and they do attract different filaments very well. So
and don't sacrifice and don't sacrifice the quality of a print. You don't want to, especially if you've got, for example, like Mike actually was printing, Mike 3D, he was printing this beautiful crystal stand with my favorite filament, the Nebula. You don't want to risk a $50 filament, to have a flaw in it because you didn't change your nozzle, or you didn't keep your printer maintained. So just be careful with that. The other thing that you want to do, of course, another thing is to make sure that everything is clean. As we know, life happens and dust happens, and
dust.
There's different kinds of dust, because one thing that I discovered, of course, is when you've got filament going down through the gears, you will end up with little particles of filament and little bits of filament around your extrusion area. So you want to go, what I actually use is a clean makeup brush. You could use a clean paint brush, but I use one that I've never used for makeup, and I go in and I dust around. I also do my fans. So fans are turned off, printer is unplugged, and you go in and you can dust your fans with a small brush like this. Some people do like to use compressed air, but you have thoughts.
If you're going to do that, physically hold down your fan to stop it from spinning.
Yes.
So, you know, go in your fan and hold it and then spray it. So you don't want to actually force this to spin with compressed air. It's okay, but the issue is if it's plugged in, it's creating electricity that can go back and blow up your electronics. Yeah. So just be careful with that. But these things literally suck in dust. Like that's their whole existence, is sucking in everything in the air. So
and I'm sure with a cat.
Oh yeah. Cats or other pests, they can cause lots of debris inside of your printer.
Yeah. If anyone's seen when people clean computers, it can be pretty harrowing. But again, like just life in general, there's dust, and then the other thing is like all around your printer there's often your prime lines, obviously the filament that you purge. A lot of that, or if you've used a silk, sometimes you have like the little wisps of the silk. They get caught up in the fan. They get underneath. They get stuck in the rails too. All those sorts of things. I've had them even in the rod, like on the rod. I've had stuff stuck and wondering what's going on with my printer. And I see that there's this little piece of filament that ended up traveling down to the bottom of the rod. So then, when I was doing my my homing and stuff, it messed it up. So that's it's important. And it's so funny because, of course, with MakerDeck, we see everyone's printers, and you see some of them, like the bamboos. I didn't realize that because the bamboo moves up and down, is someone cleaning underneath their bamboo?
I have a ramp to help remove all the scraps of stuff, because stuff just falls under, like the poop just sometimes just goes to the bottom, and it does not look pretty, and that's every single print. So I have that little ramp, and it's easier to pull up stuff. It's not the easiest, but it's easier. So that's a useful tool. Yeah. So it's just important to keep all of that sort of neat and tidy, and keep that clean. So dust is a big thing, especially with electronics. You want to keep things dust and debris free. Another thing that both of us, it's probably our worst habit, is keeping things clean and organized. Now, clean is not a problem. Organized is a whole other thing. So you want to make sure, of course, one thing that's really important is making sure your tools are clean. So if you've used that brass brush on your hot end, what you can do is take a heat gun, and you can actually melt that filament off your brass brush, and then your brass brush is ready for the next time, so you're not wiping past debris. All of your tools that you're using, like I said, if you're using a little brush to clean things off, clean that after. If you've had to use the needles to clean out your hot end, you can clean those off. And all the other tools, just keep them, put everything back where it belongs. Like what I was showing is the best thing about how to actually organize is you have to create spots for things. You have to create homes. That's the best term, is create a home. So like filament, for example, Pezlis has the rep racks. I have a shelf. I don't even fully utilize the shelf sometimes because I want to put stuff back organized, so I'll just put it in different piles and then put it back at a later date. But no, putting like your tools in these dedicated bins that you can 3D print that look really cool when you spin them because they're co-extrusion. Those are fun practical prints.
Drippy pails.
Or the drippy pails. That's one of my first prints. I use this for all of my different little mini tools.
Or the little pink hex jars. You can put your filament clips. I have Daddy Wazzy's vase. And that's where I have my little scraps. And I've been using my scraps, of course, for the truck parts.
Started to organize my electronics with this one right here, and little things. And it's fun to print organizers. Like, if you're gonna print anything, just print an organizer. One of my favorites right now is the this stackable box system where you have these big bins that you can print out. They use a little bit of filament, but not a ton.
Yeah.
And they're stackable like this, so they'll slide in. to these. So if you just are bored and want to test print, well, there you
And
go. Print off a bunch of those.
I have discovered that not keeping things organized and not putting things away can cause problems, because I've had filament stacked up beside my printer, and then when it went to do the Z level, I get this noise, and I'm like, whoops, the spools of filament were too close to the rods. Wow, I almost like destroyed my printer there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, putting things away and keeping things organized is important. Lots of chaos can come from disorganization, including, like I said, total failed print. Now, of course, one thing that we enjoy talking about on the Zombie Hedgehog channel, and one thing that people don't realize that is important, is lube.
Lubricants.
So I've had people say, "Oh, my printer's so noisy." All these sorts of things. I'm not getting, my prints, I'm getting these little rings, and I'm having this problem, that problem. And you could run through all these different, solutions. Of course, one thing is cleaning the fans, making sure the fans are working properly, all those sorts of things. But one thing that a lot of people overlook is making sure that their printers are lubed.
Yeah, so, and there's many different parts that you don't even consider that has to be lubed. Any moving part has usually a bearing of some sort, and depending on the type of bearing will require a different type of lubricant. Even the sealed bearings for something like the Prusa or Solvol SB06, those need lubricant. They need a specific type, one for the rod and then one for the actual bearing. For example, Solvol does not really lubricate their bearings, so a lot of users report that they're crunchy and they're very loud. What we have to do is, unfortunately, remove the bearing, apply a thicker grease, and then reinsert it in a certain way. So you have to pack them with grease, and then on top of that, lubricate the rods with a different type of oil.
Yeah, WD-40 is not lube. Someone just said.
No.
Yeah, so you want to make sure it's specific, of course, to either what your 3D printing manufacturer says, or other resources. So just double check, and if you need to know, you can always ask. There's lots of people that can give you advice. So synthetic lubes are the best for most 3D printers. Marcus is saying.
I like the super lube. They have the oil based one. They actually have the other style that's a grease. Those work actually pretty well in my experience. Your mileage may vary. EP2, which is commonly sold at different 3D printing resellers. They come in little tubes, like syringes, and those work very well for packing bearings, etc. One very important note, since a lot of you have an X1 carbon from Bamboo, do not lubricate the carbon rods. Those do not require any lubricant, and you'll damage your printer by lubricating those rods.
Yeah. So like we said, pay attention to what the manufacturer recommends.
You do want to clean your carbon rods. I think just isopropyl alcohol, correct me if I'm wrong, but they use brass bushings instead of an actual bearing to ride on the carbon. So it's a different style of movement, which requires a different style of lubricant, aka none. I believe the brass is self-lubricating or something like that. I don't know the official term, but no lubricant. But on the sides where they use actual bearings, you have to lubricate those. So just be careful. Don't accidentally lube what you don't have to or can't.
So
if you're printing ABS, wow, I wiped the top of this. I haven't only been printing a little bit, but it gets dirty from ABS. ABS, ASA release a lot of VOCs, which you can smell a little bit, and they are toxic in large volumes, but it builds up on the inside of your printer. So if you have an enclosed printer, you'll have to clean it up once in a while.
Yeah, so for all of these things that we've discussed today, these are things that some of these are things that you should put as part of your routine. Like a daily routine, even taking a look at your printers, making sure, that just general things are done. Some things are weekly habits. and then others as you know, as time goes by. But I would say most of them at least every 2 weeks. That's, you know, you should sort of take some time and do that type of maintenance. Because if you maintain your printers and you maintain your tools and all those things, you're going to, of course, have quality prints. You're going to have your machine last longer, and it's going to cost you a lot less.
Yeah.
So just taking those extra steps makes a huge difference on all levels.
And there may be some cases you might think that you need to replace a part. Well, it turns out you might just need a new nozzle, or you just need to clean a bearing. So save yourself a lot of time and effort troubleshooting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, that's so that basic maintenance can make a difference of hundreds of dollars depending on your printer. So
one takeaway
it's super important
that I'll give for this whole thing, based off of what we said, watch your first like 3 layers. Your first 3 layers. So your first layer is the most important layer, as you know. So if you see that it's starting to curl and peel up and not sticking well, maybe it's because maybe your Z-axis, your switch got bumped a little bit, and your Z offset is no longer correct, or your probe is a little bit loose. So that could be an issue, and that's only something you see when you print. So check your first layer, make sure it's going down well. If it's curling up in one specific spot, it could be your finger. You know, you touch the build plate and it's curling. So watch that first layer, and then watch the next couple layers. Make sure the fans are all kicking on, they sound good. Make sure your bearings don't sound like they're about to fall off. So just watch your printer. Don't just start a print and walk away. Even the most well-built printers will require maintenance and will eventually fail. So watch your first couple layers.
It's also a Zen experience. If you actually get your face in there and watch it as it
with the printer. I've watched my printers a lot. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Especially
And use your ears as well. Like all of those sounds, I know. Like I used to know with my old printer, I had a lot of over extrusion and things like that, and I would be able to hear them. Like, oh, I know exactly what's going on. So, especially with articulated things, I would have one piece pop off. So that sound, you're like, oh no, I know exactly what that is. So yeah, it's a thing. But if you do all that sort of routine maintenance, you'll have better luck. That's for sure. Not a guarantee, but after I just said that's for sure, but it is almost certain. We as we always say, we're not experts, but we are have experience from mistakes.
But we are experts at segueing to our outro. So thank you guys for tuning into today's Zee Zed show. If you watched this live on twitch.tv/zombiehedgehog, well, you were able to watch it live and comment, maybe even get your questions answered live.
And
if you're
you got to join us for the after show.
That's true. There's an after show in about 5 minutes. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this. And
leave a comment.
What kind of maintenance do you do to your printer? Do you do any maintenance? Did you forget that you have to do maintenance? Or is your maintenance just leaving your printer sit in the closet because you don't want to do maintenance? Let us know.
Did you learn something today? Let us know for sure.
So,
and if you're going to be at the Midwest Rep Rap Festival, remember, introduce yourselves to us, and don't be shy. And if we're shy, don't let us be shy, and whatever else. So, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. My name is Zee.
And I am Zed. Merci beaucoup, et à bientôt.
And goodbye. Well, I don't like this.
I had to leave on one of the browsers. Okay.
Terrifying. There we go. Is that better? It's the Zed and Zed show.
Numeric. Salut. Do you know what owl is in French?
Ooh, ooh.
Ibou. It kind of. Ibou.
Really?
Yeah, Ibou.
Ooh,
Numerics
ooh.